working with the Senate. We're very pleased to hear the leaders say that they're staying here. Their priority is working on what we call Bill number 3. And we had very productive discussions. The president wants to emphasize this is a situation where we have requested that many people stay home so we don't spread this disease. This is not like a normal economic situation. The government has requested that parts of this economy shut down, and the president is determined. You can think of this as business interruption money. The president is determined we will put money back into this economy to protect hardworking Americans and small businesses.
Secretary Mnuchin, do you want the Senate to approve the House bill unchanged, number one? And number two, shouldn't Congress also be concerned about rising deficits as you're proposing $1 trillion package here that Congress should?
I think Congress right now should be concerned about the American workers and small business. You know, interest rates are incredibly low, so there's very little cost. I haven't had cargo, but we've had conversations. We obviously have a situation where there's very little traffic. We want to maintain that although we've told people non-essential travel they shouldn't do, but essential travel, we want to have airlines that operate, maybe on a more limited basis. Airlines have a short-term liquidity issue, and absolutely, that's something we talked about today. I've also spoken to the Speaker about that. So we are absolutely part of this. Airlines, hotel, travel, other areas, we're talking about dealing with that.
Secretary Mnuchin, is there any plans for a global economic stimulus? Are you in touch with other world leaders about a global stimulus?
Sure. The president had a G7 leaders conference call yesterday. Director Kudlow was a critical part of putting that together. There was a statement. One of the things they called for was further coordination with central bankers and finance ministers. We'll be having weekly calls of the G7 finance ministers and central bankers. And I think you know the Fed has been in ongoing discussions with their counterparts.
Can you talk about the bills, the direct checks that you guys are proposing for Americans?
Again, I don't want to go into the specifics where we're going to work with Congress on this, but the president wants to put money in the economy now. This is where if there are people and small businesses that can't make payroll because their business has ceased to exist. We've told people in restaurants, don't go into restaurants. We want to make sure that those business owners have money to pay their employees. We're not going to put money in those business owners just for the sake of them keeping it, but we're going to help them with liquidity to meet their payroll. Thank you, everybody.
That the stock market will stay open in the coming weeks?
Again, the Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin there with some more detail about what the government's plans are. Kayla Tausche standing by, Kayla, to react to what we've learned from Treasury, from Mnuchin just now. And like you said, that even a TALF-like plan may now be under consideration.
Well, Kelly, he is defending this big number, saying that that is what is needed in this time of economic uncertainty, saying that in different times we'll fix the deficit, but noting now is not that time. He's also defending the plan that the administration is putting forward, which he says is a $1 trillion injection into the economy on top of an estimated $300 billion in deferred payments to the IRS that taxpayers will not be on the hook for in the coming months. So he is defending this big program and the part of it that is going to go directly to businesses. You just heard him talking about how any money that's going to be going to restaurants or to some of these small businesses is for them to be able to pay their workers, and essentially saying that it's not fair because the administration is asking people not to go to restaurants. They're asking people not to take essential travel, and that it's now on the administration to make up for those losses.
So how might this work, Kayla? In other words, how does this money get into the hands of businesses, whether it's the small coffee shop on my block in the Jersey town in which I live, or into a large restaurant or into a hotel restaurant? How does it work?
Well, you have to imagine, Tyler, that those industry trade association memberships are going to be really valuable because those are the people who have been calling the administration off the hook. You have to imagine that it would be harder for a mom and pop shop to be able to get that type of payment because they don't have the representation that some of these larger chains and larger publicly traded companies do. That being said, the administration has said over and over that it will try to get this money to small businesses in any way that it can. I spoke to a bank executive earlier today who says that the line of industries who are going to wait or lobby for some of this stimulus money is only expanding, and that they're even recommending that REITs be part of a future stimulus bill because they want a way for a subsidy of sorts to be credited towards small and medium-sized businesses who are tenants, because rent is the #1 bill for a lot of these businesses, and they don't want leases to be ended over a slump in sales that goes on for longer. So you can imagine that this list is going to be long. There are going to be a lot of businesses knocking on the door of the administration, and it's going to be really tough work to figure out how to allocate it.
Yeah, California has something, the Hibernation Act that the restaurant industry there is pushing, Kayla. So this could also start happening on the state level and then bubble up. I think for markets, Kayla, it's probably going to also come down to a dollar figure. Is there anything more we've learned this afternoon other than the fact that it might be expanding to additional checks to households if needed in the weeks ahead?
Well, what we have learned from a senior administration official is that the rough buckets of money comprise at present of about $500 to $500 billion in direct payments and or a payroll tax cut, which the president, as you heard earlier today, still likes, $200 to $300 billion in small business assistance, and between $500 to $100 billion to airlines and other large industries who are affected. Those numbers are moving targets. They are not set in stone. They will be heavily and painstakingly negotiated with Congress. So that is sort of the range that we're talking about right now. But, we are in the realm of $1 trillion of stimulus to the economy, and that's just with the package that the Treasury Secretary is talking about on Capitol Hill.